continue to worry about my feet. Not just the one, but both. What is it? Cancer, drugs, diabetes? And John Carpenter's The Thing. There's a scene where Kurt Russell checks on Wilford Brimley, who's been locked in a shack for a while. Upon exiting, Wilford Brimley tells Kurt Russell to, quote, watch Clark and watch him close. Do you hear me? Nobody knows what the fuck is going on there. However, watch your blood sugar and watch it close. Do you hear me? Poster boy, man, old man. Oh, actually. Let's throw that one for you. Let's see. Partway through the last performance, we chatted earlier in the evening, and now sunglasses and all, but then this, an item she shared the day before, blah, blah, blah. And of course, with each recalibration, you think not that you are trading down or betraying your values, but you are becoming more mature, and maybe you are. From the article by Greg Jackson. I can't remember what was published. This is a part of the was, why, maybe, the way it is. I summarized this in the ignorant way I chose to catalog all the bruises from my B12 injections, or your phone number, and the only one I can remember, it's a thought of she and not her, plural, as the heiress of the process. And we have one more piece together.
Yes.
Your name can always be.
Can you ever play that song again?
Can you ever hear it again?
Can you play it without crying?
Of course.
A complete lie. Look the sweetest type.
You have no clue. You know, there's a name for people like you.
Ambidextrous.
Not exactly what I had in mind, but that'll do. And who's to complain?
Who complains about being ambidextrous?
Well, in this case, me. Better yet, let's just leave it as unresolved.
Resolve is an entirely different matter.
What type of lie did you say it was?
Complete, but perhaps I misspoke. I mean, I rarely allow you to complete a sentence, so...
Yeah, that's exactly...
There is many types of lies as there are the people who tell them. This is done very clinically and directly, like checking a reflex or administering a field sobriety test.
Well, sure, but don't you have a problem with it? I mean...
No, not necessarily. At least not at first. Lies are formulaic. Once you work out the formula, you discover whether or not it's harmful, just confused, or at times even charming or endearing.
Charm. I think my charm is lost on you.
Oh, don't be grotesque. You're just confused.
Confused about
being misunderstood. You're confused about being misunderstood.
Are you really ambidextrous?
No.
Caught in the crosshairs. I wonder what your father would do. I mean, if he thought you cared, you cared. Do you remember anything you got into?
No, only the things I got out of.
Charming.
I'd like to think so. Though I'm somehow never in the mood to prove it one way or another.
Listen, do you still want to go to this dinner or not? We're running late.
I thought you were going to play the song.
Do you want to see me cry?
Often, but not tonight.
Alright, so... I'll go with this one. So this is the cry list stuff. This is... let's see, this is 3 Okay, as a diagnosed highly sensitive person here in HSP, compiling a cry list limited to 5 items involved very careful consideration and a lot of crying, because as an HSP, I'm apt to cry at the mere whispered thought of a wide variety of items, tangible or intangible, including but not limited to small plump birds, photography, certain words, and particular settings, sounds, musical or non, celestial events, dance and performance, staircases, winners and losers, artwork, films, architecture and design, blah, 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 poetry and literature, jewelry, particularly earrings, fake flowers, concepts, bad television shows, theories, food, desert eyeglasses, good things, bad things, shoes, living or dead, apologies, songs, etc. So I had to develop a certain criteria, instead of criteria, is it when truly unrestricted, regardless? How does it make you cry? Context, immediate, uncontrollable. Does it care? Can you tell now? How about now? Or how? Or why? It began something like this. Who? Me and Jamie Iacoli. What? Skyletter, a documentary video compilations of pyrotechnic works by artist Saigo King. When? Afternoon 2012. Where? Mocha, Los Angeles, California. In 2012, Saigo King's masterpiece, Skyletter, had yet to be successfully executed. What I saw on the screens that day was a reality television-worthy tale of admirable ambition, failed attempts, and hopeful explosions. A dark room in a large building in downtown Los Angeles, which according to Google Maps is a renowned collection of post-1940s works. And I was standing there in a near corner with my dear friend, crying from head to toe, and she noticed, and I couldn't stop until we left. Afterwards, Bloody Marys, or maybe before, or maybe after, or maybe before and after, regardless, sifting the experience proved fireworks. Fireworks make me cry in this inexplicable way, regardless. Precious Tales are $9.99 a month, or free if you go outside, even if you don't go back inside. Sometimes we don't get to choose what holds up the roof. Wait, there are others. There should be a list. Lists are fun and trending. So, it's the birth of the cry list, pretty much. And, let's see, get more like stuck in here. Don't play that song. It makes me cry. Play that song. It makes me cry. That may apply, but not on this list. Something that the laconic may hold true. This is happy, sad. The preemptive offerings aren't always chance. Online search, sympathy versus empathy, or who versus cares. Nothing here would ever need to be avoided. That's an entirely different game. I still don't know that game. Touching the handrail, touching but not telling. Fireworks. They go into the sky, which I consider a very terrific distraction from the sky itself. Sky, friends have told me I should look up more often, but in the daytime I found it too vague and blurry. At night it's so overwhelming and it makes me feel like throwing up. It also makes me want to cry, but it makes me feel like throwing up more. I do like airplanes though, just not for a very long time. People should pay me to fly places more on airplanes. In case anybody's listening, I would like to get paid to fly out. But it doesn't really matter now that Sky Mall has ceased to exist, or ceased to publish its Insight publications after a violent Chapter 11 bankruptcy. My cry list is a process of separating these causes from the shedding or shattering background noise, an exercise that usually begins with a hushed, oh no, and ends with, it's okay, I'm okay. Hashtag happy sad, hashtag HSP. An elderly lady smiled at me on the bus. She was wearing 2 scarves. I smiled back, touching but telling. I always wear sunglasses. Not for this particular reason, but it helps. Can you tell now? How about now? How? Why? Number 1 on my cry list, fireworks. Though my father did accidentally shoot me in the eye with a bottle rocket whenever I was 5 years old, which left me with an extreme aversion to fire for many years, it's been established through therapy that this has no relation between that incident and my feeling about fireworks. Notably, I have braved my fear of ladders let's not cry listening. This is Sophia. In the past several years to watch firework displays on rooftops in both Los Angeles and Philadelphia. Number 2, Last Year at Marienbad, French film. It's really great. It's directed by Alain René, written by Alain Robert-Gardet, 1961. The characters have no names, and those trees don't cast shadows. Number 3, female astronauts. As a child, I did witness the Challenger space explosion on live television. However, via therapy, once again, this also proves to be unrelated to why thinking about this subject makes me cry. Recently, during a very lengthy and very conversational lift ride, I found myself reciting a bit of poetry from, actually an entire poem from Ben Lerner's Angle of Yaw about women in space to the driver who I was talking to, which ends with the something, I can't even describe it. It destroys me. The first woman in space is still there. I did give her a 10. 4, a Rosetta Stone ad on the back of the Scott Mall catalog. Whenever I saw it, like on the back of that catalog on that plane, I just couldn't. It's in the book. You can see it in the book. I can't describe it to you, but it's about maybe it's here. In the book, like it's this farm boy from someplace in the Midwest, and like he's about to meet a supermodel, and he has to learn Italian, and it's his only chance to actually do this. You know, like he's got to make his. And briefly after that, I saw in the subway, quintessential farm boy, and he was walking upstairs from the subway, and he looked so out of place in the setting, touching the handrail, touching but telling. Some kids behind me started making fun of him. I wanted to turn around and shut them down. I wanted to defend him. But even more so, I just wanted to cry, which I'm doing right now. I wanted to ask him, come out to Italiano. 5 nosebleeds, spontaneous nosebleeds to be exact. Nosebleeds due to some sort of physical trauma can be neat, but absolutely not the same thing. My response doesn't match. I don't really care if you get your nose, you get punched in the nose, so it's like, yeah, I've had that happen before, it's fine. In this context, like, just nosebleeds, but people who have natural nosebleeds. In the context of romance or not, I, for years, wanted to kiss someone while they were having a nosebleed. Thank you.